I felt like I did my part. And then you get to a part where they make their own choices. And you hope that the values, not just the rituals, but the values behind the rituals, rub off on them and direct them. But you also get to this place is that I can't control them. And God's got an actual plan for them. And it might not even look like my plan at all. As a matter of fact, it might be the complete opposite of my plan. And so part of my loving parenting is to understand, this is what I'm finding for myself, is like, you might not have made your children devotees. And that's okay, because that's just what it is. They're individuals and you don't possess them. And it's nice to think things I can possess, do whatever I want, but I don't possess anything or anybody. And so my realization was, you give them love. You try to set a good example. You don't try to be manipulative with religion like a lot of people were with us when we were kids. And you hope something valuable rubs off on them.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Come on! Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Das. Today is Monday, May 26, 2025. It's episode 1611. Welcome to the show. It's Monday.
It's Monday.
It's Monday today, but we're going to do another Q&A day because we still have all the Wisdom of the Sages retreat people here. And we got some questions that are sort of burning questions. It was a really nice weekend. The sun's finally coming out after everybody leaving.
Almost. Getting there.
Almost coming out. But it was really nice. We just had our closing circle. Really sweet.
Oh, yeah. It really was. Little closing circle. You like those kind of things, right? Like closing circle.
Yeah, you don't like a closing circle?
No, I
What
do.
you?
But
Oh, I'm above the... You're above the closing circle?
see, I had to take it the wrong way. No, I'm not saying that. But
You like
the
those? Yeah,
corny,
who doesn't like a closing circle?
the corny parts.
It's
of it.
called closure.
But you like the corny parts of it, like say, "We love you," and
No, that's just a thing I borrowed from the 12-step program to validate.
But I think you're
people
into it.
speaking to do.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you be into validation
It's a little
of
corny.
people sharing their hearts? Corny. What are we, like in 8th grade
He's
now?
upset.
It
He's
is
mad.
corny.
I
Well,
told.
is vulnerability corny?
What does
Then call me corny.
that's what I'm doing.
Oh,
No, because you were
you
busy.
listen to that Stoic podcast too much.
I was taking
Stoicism's old school, but this is real school. It's called vulnerability.
I just wanna-
join the vulnerability podcast.
I want to
friends.
share vulnerably share something with you, that you were a little busy right as we were about to start the show.
Yeah.
And so Mara said, Kaustubha, why don't you greet all the people, which is what you normally do before
Yeah.
the show. You greet every single person.
I do.
I said, okay, I can do it. But Raghunath may be a little bit mad at me when he comes in, and then he can
I
hold it,
wasn't mad.
and he can
wasn't
hold
mad.
that. He can hold on to that for the whole show.
I wasn't mad. I'm not mad. I was happy.
Are you sure you're not mad?
Well, I'm not mad because that.
maybe.
I'm mad because you're
Maybe they're
taking the
connected.
closing circle, which is a
Okay.
very important part of any.
I wasn't
event.
even critiquing it. I was just saying that you're into that kind of thing. That's all. I didn't say anything negative.
You're not into closure.
Yeah, there he goes again. All right, let's get this thing moving. let's get
Come on.
Yeah, come on, Baba. Good.
Well, how about when I've given this whole like engaged class, and he comes in.
I'm upset.
First thing he had in his mouth was, "Oh, you're telling that bogus story?"
No,
again?" Buddy.
no.
Like
Okay,
empowering the
we gotta-
story
we
and the
gotta-
lessons behind the story.
Well, no. What happened was I came in and
I
you're.
can talk about it.
Come
I
on.
want closure
We
with
need
this.
to talk about it. We need to talk about
It's
it.
okay. Let's do Q&A.
Okay. There are different ways you could have reacted to the response. I didn't know you were going to be telling the bogus story when I walked in. And the first thing.
You don't even know it's
and then the first thing you said was, I'm telling your favorite story. And I said, oh, what, the bogus one? And then there are many ways you could react to that. Because you could say, you know, you could bounce off that and make comedy gold out of that, Raghunath, if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Right, but it irks you. It irks
It
you.
irks me.
Okay, let's let go of it. Let's try to. That was actually our most confrontational issue in the entire history of the podcast, right? Because you were telling that
Because
story.
I think there's an essence of the story, whether it's bogus or not.
Okay.
The principle is the same.
Right.
And
that-
sometimes you hear this Vrindavan lore.
yeah.
And you're like, is that bona fide, that Vrindavan lore? I've never read that in any book. Yeah, it's Vrindavan lore.
Yeah.
But if the essence is the same, that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead,
Yeah.
then it can be accepted as truth.
I think we just need to be a little careful about it, because if we tell stories, if we tell Krishna's leelas, and we're presenting them, these are truth, and then we start to then it kind of devalues the ones that are.
I don't think so. That's
Okay, well, that's where we disagree.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. But you don't
We
appear
disagree.
to be.
We disagree.
You don't appear to be.
All right, on with the show,
All
please.
right. It's okay, Baba Ganoush. It's all right. There we go. Yeah.
All right, let's go on.
Okay.
All right, it's Q&A day, everybody. That's the day.
Just a little embrace.
It's another day. Get off me.
Yeah. There we go. He's softening up. There we go.
All right.
All right, Baba Ganoush.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. We got questions, Raghunath.
Questions.
But
questions?
first
Any
you have
announcements,
announcements.
Miss Mara?
Miss Mara.
How are
No-
you doing, Miss Mara? How was your weekend?
Well, it was a
You-
great weekend.
You know, she's an introvert. She's a real super introvert.
I'm not a super
No,
introvert.
you're not?
How did I end up here if I was?
I don't know.
Maybe in comparison. That's all.
Maybe.
That's
okay.
true. Compared to you, I am more introverted.
How'd
My
you do?
weekend was great.
You did
My
good?
weekend was great.
Okay.
No show tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we'll be back on Wednesday at 7 a.m.
Okay, Wednesday at 7 a.m. Okay.
Who's first on the list?
Amy Stella.
Stellar. Amy Stellar is back again.
Bring her back. She's got good questions.
Welcome back, New Jersey.
There
Hey, Stellar. You are
we go.
you are sort of like, you know, on the sitcoms in our days, there's like regular occurring guests. Like you're Lionel from
Oh, okay.
from All in the Family.
Thank you.
Before it made it to the
I'm
Jeffersons.
blurred for some reason. I'm
Yeah.
blurred.
it's-
There we
Lionel.
go. No,
Crazy analogy
don't
that
blur
was.
me, Prabhu.
You know what? I don't know why it does. It blurs the people in
It
the back.
does. Yeah.
Okay. So we got
So I
back
became
off.
like. A
So if we
background.
back off, you're the
No, it's fine now.
you're the main you're the main
I'm gonna
character.
Adjust everything.
Okay.
Humble obeisance. So grateful for both of you. This was an amazing weekend.
you.
Everything, everyone. How do I engage my children? It's a struggle. I want to share my bhakti with them
Mm.
more than they want me to share my bhakti with them. That's putting it lightly. And they when the podcast right, it was on, and it still is, it was on all day every day, so it was just kind of background for them, and they love both of you.
Interesting.
They do have an affection for both of you, an appreciation for both of you.
One more than another.
So when I was the one, and I was just kind of like, oh, look how pretty, and I go, there's Kastuba, and she was like, the Kastuba. That's and you gave like a little vibe, right?
Yeah, it's like television. You could put us on your big flat screen TV.
I had a question for you, Amy. How old are your children?
17 and 20.
Okay, they're grown-ups now. Young adults are grown-ups, yeah. Okay, that's helpful to know. Please continue.
And my daughter did come a couple weeks ago to temple with me in Tawaco.
How'd that go?
Yeah, lovely. Everyone there was like, Amy Mataji's daughter. They were all like, they were like Amy Mataji's daughter, and they were.
He's the 17-year-old.
Yes,
Wow.
and she's a mini me. And she's actually taller than I am, so she's
So she's a
literally like a
Biggie me.
right. And My son, I made the mistake of bringing him a couple of years ago to Janastami at the Bhakti Center, and it was like too crazy. The bathing of the deities. He's like, "Mom, come on, this is weird." And
Bathing on the deity is a hard thing to get.
and it was
If you don't get it,
loud.
you don't get it.
And the level, the kirtan is very ecstatic, and it was
Sensory overwhelm.
totally.
Yeah.
So now I can't get him to come back, and he also is a future faker. Do you know what that is?
Future thinker?
Future faker.
A future faker? I don't know what that
Faker.
is.
So
it's a
he
thing?
will tell me, "Yeah, I'm gonna come. Yeah, I'm gonna come," and then
A
he
future
doesn't.
faker.
Future faker.
I'm gonna come. That's a
Mhm.
future faker. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a future faker. Oh, I'm gonna come. I'm
I
gonna
might
come.
be a future faker too. Oh yeah, I'm totally into it.
Yeah, totally right. Just to appease me, and then
Yeah.
doesn't come. Like he said he was going to come to the Nisargadev yagya at the temple. Ghosted
Oh
me.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. The Nisringadev
on
yeah,
Mother's Day.
yeah,
on Mother's Day, everyone.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I should have gone because there's Mother's
It was Mother's Day, and he ghosted me. Yeah.
Oh, well, there's a principle right there. Raghunath's going to have a lot more to share on this than I am, obviously. But I think there's a principle there where you're trying to get him to come because you want him there rather than because he wants to be there. So it's going to build in a sense of resentment, like, oh, that place. All right, I'll do it because mom wants me to go. But it may create a negative
Backfire.
impression in his mind, which may lead to future faking.
Yeah. That's
So I think that's one principle in trying to involve your kids in practices of bhakti. If they're doing it only because you want them to do it, it may make things worse than better.
Mm.
That's one thing. But Raghunath, why don't you? I'm sure you got a lot to share.
I got a lot to share on this because, I felt like I've extended myself to so many people and trying to spread bhakti around the world. And then, like, how am I going to make my own family get into bhakti? So, from like birthhood, from babyhood, I've been thinking of ways to get, I've had my little kids before they could even stand, have them offering incense, have them ringing bells, have them doing arti, bring them to kirtan, putting my baby at 5 days old on the altar in Los Angeles and offering her to the deities. And, it's like, and then at every different age doing different things to the point where, bring them to India, bring them to both, all my kids have been to India no less than 7 times, bring them to holy places, bathing the Ganges, having programs like this at my house that they're part of, having them come to my morning satsangs. It doesn't get more. I mean, it can get more, I'm sure, but I feel like
more Krishna conscious.
no, it couldn't get. I was thinking it can't get more, but I guess because if you're sending your kids to a Indian boarding school, or there's ways to be a little bit more extreme about it than the way I lived my life. You could have they didn't go to a Krishna school, they didn't, yeah. But I felt like I did my part, and then you get to a part where they make their own choices, and you hope that the values, not just the rituals, but the values behind the rituals, rub off on them and direct them. But you also get to this place is that I can't control them. And God's got an actual plan for them. And it might not even look like my plan at all. As a matter of fact, it might be the complete opposite of my plan. And so part of my loving parenting is to understand, this is what I'm finding for myself, is like, you might not have made your children devotees. And that's okay, because that's just what it is. They're individuals and you don't possess them. And it's nice to think things I can possess, do whatever I want, but I don't possess anything or anybody. And so my realization was, you give them love. You try to set a good example. You don't try to be manipulative with religion like a lot of people were with us when we were kids. And you hope something valuable rubs off on them.
Let me ask you a question. What experiences did you provide for your children that you think, because
Were the most substantial?
I see your kids as a real success story. Like I see them now spontaneously on their own accord being very interested in bhakti. So my question to you is, what opportunities or What did you expose them to that you think had that ingrained that in them the most?
I think the most powerful thing was not just giving them that culture of it, but when they become teenagers, when you're no longer like the coolest guy in town, when the kids are little, like you become their god. You know what I mean? And then when you get to teenagers, it's sort of like, Dad, don't embarrass me. That thing. That's when their friends become more important. So truthfully, I think the things like the bus tour that my son went on, he developed so many friends from that. He moved to Florida. He moved to Florida to live with a devotee family, and it's through friendship that we create ourself oftentimes, especially in those very formative years we're trying to find ourselves. It's they have so many devotee friends, and so I think friendships are a big thing, and to have good friends that have good habits, and what to speak of spiritual habits or Krishna conscious habits or things like that. That was probably the biggest game changer for them. I still don't know. We still don't know how our kids are going to turn out. I don't even know how I'm going to turn out, you know. But that was, I think, the most significant thing, more than any ritual, more than any pilgrimage, more than any. It's who they're hanging out with when they're teenagers, because it's something like those teenage friends. They sort of oftentimes can become lifelong friends, especially if they're connected to it, like an eternal path, a spiritual path.
Now,
What do you think?
well, I think no, that makes sense. I mean, honestly, I think that first of all, Rocco was probably the only one that went on a bus tour, right?
Actually, no. My daughter did
She did as
also
well.
too. I
Okay.
think boys bond more. I think Sachi did too. That was really good for her too. I think she
Okay.
liked it.
But I think for them to even be able to go on it, they had to already have a willingness to be on a bus with a bunch of Hare Krishna kids,
Yeah, they were
chanting
already
constantly.
sort of didn't think it
So
was. They didn't think
yeah,
it was weird.
so you provided a background that opened them up to that experience.
Yeah.
Where I wanted to go next was Amy's kids are a bit older now, so she doesn't have that opportunity to provide the whole background growing up.
Yeah.
So now we got to be, you know, I don't know if the word strategic is what I'm looking for, or sensitive, but like have to really consider this. How
Yeah.
it,
Truthfully, I think first of all, it depends on the type of relationship you have with the kids, and at a certain point, there's a certain point where they at least overtly try to stop accepting your influence and try to figure out things by themselves.
they're at that age where like they don't want your influence in their life, or they
I'm very close with my kids. I just, I invite them to everything, and it's a lot of no, like either no or that's not my thing, or
Hmm.
but I don't know. Do I continuously invite them to things to say no for that one opportunity that they say yes?
Well, here's another thing. Maybe these temple atmosphere is not what's going to do it for them.
Right.
But do you talk about life? Like, do you talk about the
Mm-hmm.
meaning of life and the purpose of life? Are they
Not with my son,
okay? But your daughter, is
because
she?
it goes way too.
Give them punk to monk. Serious. I mean, I'm
I
just saying,
know.
you give something that someone can relate to.
And he does love
You know.
you.
Oh, that's nice. Or give him Radha Swami's book. Give him something. There's so many different. Give him prashad. There's so many different ways. Give him flower gardens.
Right.
Some people, I love flowers. There's
They
different
do
ways
the
to connect.
deities.
There's different ways to connect different people. Some people like art and music. Give them great kirtan. Give like that dance yesterday. I mean, for anyone who likes like dance, that was like breathtaking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, give people kirtan. There's so many great kirtans out there. Give people prashad. People love prashad. Your job and my job as a people trying to give the holy name to people is you got to find. There's different islands, and we are trying to create a bridge from one island to another, basically. And from what do they have that can connect them with that island of Haribo? And I look at it like that. And it's not an artificial thing. Everybody's a pure spirit soul. And my job is to help people remember that. And it's going to be unique for everybody in the room. And so you have two kids, and so they're going to be different as well. One kid might just be like, whatever you say, mom. And another person is going to, another person is going to be like, maybe not interested. Maybe just find what they're interested in. You like the music? You like it art? You want to read this book?
And then in the end, it may actually be the one that was more resistant in the beginning that gets more into it in the end. We really don't know.
Believe me, I was resistant. You know how many people were preaching to me about becoming a devotee? I was like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I was very resistant
But
until I wasn't.
yeah, I'll say this, and I think it's maybe even more important when you didn't have the opportunity to raise the kids in it from the beginning. But it appears to me like it requires a lot of patience, because and maybe that's just one of the real struggles in parenthood in general, is this that you feel like, I know what's best for my kid, and I just want to provide for them to accept it, and then at a certain point it begins to dawn on you more and more that they're an individual and they're going to make their own decisions in life, and that's like a real struggle. Tension. But friends of mine who've been convinced that their kids are never going to get into it. They almost, and I've seen it weigh on them, just like, and they feel that they've failed in some way. And then somehow that kid gets into it, and then they're really into it. I've seen that happen. Like it's the biggest surprise in their life that actually their kid is really into it now. And I'll say this, in Raghu's life, there was a point where you approached Radha Swami, you're just like, I don't know how to, my kids are, they're not against it or anything, but they're just not so interested in it.
Mm.
Do you remember that?
No.
I remember,
I remember.
And he told
I
you
mean,
this
it's my
advice.
ongoing thing.
Yeah,
How-
yeah, it's probably, you've had a million conversations like this, and he said to you, essentially what he said was, you can't force it on them, but what you can do is be a very loving father and live your life as a good devotee, and they're going to witness your life.
Mm.
So if they feel loved by you and cared for you, and they see that this is what makes you who you are, this is what makes you that loving person, then they'll naturally have an openness to it. Whereas if you try to impose it on them, then they're going to try to resist, and they'll build that wall more and more. So part of the answer, I'm not going to say the whole answer, I do think that you can be creative and really try to think of what it is that they find about it interesting, and or even just like Ragnar say, just give them prasadam, there's a million ways that you can try to touch them. But it maybe the most important part of it is that you show them how it comes alive in your own life. And what I mean by showing them is that you just live your life and let them see how it's coming alive in your life, and be patient. And
I think Amy's a pretty joyful person
Yeah,
too. I think that
doubt.
rubs off. Like, this makes my mom happy.
yeah,
Yeah.
and when their world starts to get shaken a little bit, which is going to happen, no doubt, because it happens to all of us, then when they see that you've got this, the world, especially when you're young, you may not be. Some young people are really like, I got to figure this whole world out, and other young people are just like, I'm just enjoying the world. And then later on, events happen in their life that kind of force them to think about, what is this life? What am I meant to understand? And at that point, you're going to be the closest person to them that they know has gone through that process and has really tried to figure out, find the answers to life. They may naturally, you might be the first person that they see as someone that's taken those steps, and they might naturally follow, in your footsteps. So maybe that's part of it.
Mm.
It definitely requires patience. I'd say it definitely requires not trying to push it on them when they're resistant, and then being creative to find out whatever ways they and then quick answer, like bring him to this or bring him to that. Okay.
Is that okay, Amy?
Hare Krishna and Bala obeisances.
Okay, well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Love having you here.
Amy Stellar, everyone.
Yeah, I really feel like part of me, you do what you can, and then you got to let go a little bit.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
think that's parenthood in
part
general.
of my nature in general is I want to control everything. I want to control the outcome of everything. I can't, and it's almost a relief when you can't.
Right.
And it allows a person to sort of just grow up.
Right.
Like we had to do.
Yep.
So
We never really did it. But
Who do we got next, Miss Mara?
Mikey
Sweet
Prema.
Mikey Prema. Come on down from
Let's hear
Nashville,
it from Mikey
Tennessee.
Prema.
He's got 2 questions. Oh, double. I'm going to pay double for that.
Okay.
But I'm happy to ask it if.
Oh, it's a
if they would
private
be
question? It's a
comfortable.
private question?
I didn't ask about that.
Okay.
Hi.
Hey,
you guys
Mikey.
so
Mikey,
much.
filmmaker or a videographer with his wife, big supporter of Sita Sundari and Dharma Setu's Bhakti Center they have down in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, we're so blessed to have that center as our little hub in the deep south for Bhakti.
Yeah.
Just thank you both so much. A dream for my wife and I to come here and visit Super Soul and spend extended amounts of time with you guys, and it was so amazing.
You guys are so sweet.
just so grateful for
Yeah,
you
thank
both.
you. I'm sure everybody feels that way. What's your question, Mikey?
So my question is about Japa.
Alrighty.
Trying to pull it up. So what does it feel like to be deeply absorbed in Japa?
Well, let me tell you about this. It's really good. It feels great.
Like, what is the experience you guys have with it?
That's a good question.
You started right now. You go with that.
It's hard. It's not like I saw colors and I saw paisley designs in the sky. It's not like that. It's just for me when I feel like I'm chanting good rounds, my mind is steady. There's a pleasure of a steady mind than a mind that's scattered. So that in itself is explaining a phenomenon. But there's also an attraction for being with Krishna. I'm getting, and to be with Krishna, to serving Radha and Krishna, to be part of his inner circle. There's a special feeling I'm getting when I'm with Krishna, and it comes in japa, it comes in kirtan, and it comes in just like looking at Krishna in a picture or a painting as well. And it's not something sort of like going down a roller coaster, like woo. It's something much more a sublime pleasure from feeling connected to this most beautiful reservoir of joy, who is Krishna. So it's not bursts, it's not light, but it is sort of like a brightening of the heart. And sometimes even when I don't get some like joyous kickback, there's still a pleasure and a steadiness of when I can just hold my mind on Krishna's name. So maybe that sounds a little nebulous, but that's the best I could do. I don't have I'm not showering tears when chanting the holy name, but I am appreciating it for sure. And I wake up when I wake up in the morning, I long for it. Like I want to chant Krishna's name now.
That's nice. Yeah. Of course, there's the descriptions in the songs of the great acharyas or in the Shastra itself that describe what it's like to be really absorbed in the name.
Tears are flowing
Yeah.
from my eyes like torrents of rain. You know what a torrent is? I always try to imagine that. Really? You want that?
Yeah. And goosebumps and voice
Revelation.
choking up.
Boys, like, where you want that? This is so scary.
It's not projectile vomiting. It's voice choking up.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of like they say that like your voice is
You're trying to
choking.
say, can't even. So there are those, but there's no point in trying to imitate that. That will come when it comes. But if I'm when I think about it, it's a really good question, something that we should think about. I don't claim to be very absorbed, to get very deeply absorbed, in the name at all. But there are times where I feel more absorbed in it than others. And the way that I feel when I'm most absorbed in it, I would say is, there's this verse, we were talking about it a little bit yesterday, I think, in the 10th, in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And Arjuna turns to Krishna, he says, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. So, Pavitram, Paramam, you're the supreme purifier. right? It can be you are the purest, or you purify more than anything. So that name of Krishna, when the mind is absorbed in it, it's purifying to the mind. And so when I chant, Prabhupada, I try to listen to what Prabhupada said about chanting. And many times people ask him, what should we think about when we're chanting? And generally his answer was, just hear the name, right? Just hear the name. So it's not like I need to imagine something or even praise something, but I just need to bring my mind fully to that sound. And when I bring my mind to that sound and I'm chanting it, so my body's involved in it, my voice box is vibrating and it's coming out of my mouth, and even there's some vibration of that sound in the body, and then the mind is absorbed in that sound. It feels to me like I'm bathing in the name, like it's a shower. And so I feel like I'm kind of like pouring the name out of me, like I'm the shower, and but at the same time I'm getting washed by that shower. So I just chant the name, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, and I feel like I'm I'm being bathed by that name. And if I can stay there for some time, I I'm so um I'm so unfortunate that that my mind is so distracted in general that it's hard for me even for like a whole round to remain there, right? But sometimes I remain there for some time, and it's really wonderful, and I do, and that's I think that's especially that for me. That's the most common thing that I feel when I feel like I'm somewhat absorbed in that name. I just feel like this is so, just like if you're really dirty and you take a shower, it feels so good to get clean, and it feels like my mind feels so good to be purified by this name. It's something incredibly special, incredibly powerful, incredibly beautiful. It also gives happiness though too. It kind of feels like I'm finally in that spiritual energy. I'm finally, you know, also remember one time a disciple said to Prabhupada something like, sometimes I feel in Krishna conscious, and I'm like this, and then other times, I feel like I'm in Maya. And Prabhupada's like, you're always in Maya. You don't know what it means, to be Krishna conscious, and so sometimes when I'm chanting, I feel a little joy. I feel a little bit like I'm finally stepping a little bit into what it feels like to have a heart that's a little soft for Krishna. Have a mind that's not searching for something, temporary of this world, but that's
Mm.
actually absorbed in the name of Krishna, which is the avatar for the Kali Yuga. It is like it's Krishna's most prominent presence in this age that we live in, and my mind is in it right now. It feels really wonderful to be like, oh, I'm a little bit there finally. So there's a sense of gratitude and happiness that's there as well. So those are things that I feel when I chant, when I'm more absorbed in it. And I pray that as I grow older, that experience will become much more rich. Y- I pray that I can somehow be blessed, that when I chant that name, I feel very special, deep feelings of love for Krishna.
You got to invest in the name. You got to invest in it, and it has a return on investment. And it's actually holding all this stuff together. Sometimes you think, well, I can just do this without chanting. You can't. It'll all crumble. It'll all crumble. You got to actually petition Krishna with this japa to enter your life. Mm.
Thank you, Prabhu's. I think, you know, maybe something you're alluding at is I need to look for something a little more subtle, because when I read the Shashastakam and it talks about, tears flowing from the eyes and goosebumps, and, I've had little glimpses of that experience in kirtan and japa, and I think probably everybody has, or we might not be here. In my
Sure.
experience, that's
I
what
think so.
hooked me.
You get little teasers.
And
Hmm?
I think it's kind of, for me, when I'm doing my japa, it's almost like all or nothing. If I'm not feeling that, then I'm not sure where to put my aim into as to what to feel.
Mm.
Well, that's an important consideration. And what I tell people is, this, and how I approach it myself, this is a lifetime investment. This is something I can chant and chant and chant, and I'm not gonna allow myself to say, well, you know what, I've been doing this for a few years and I'm not experiencing what it says that you're supposed to experience. No, I may have to do this for this entire lifetime. I may have to do it for another lifetime. I'm ready to do that. I have faith in it. Um, and I'm not expecting quick results. I'm not demanding quick results. I'm trying to turn it. I've had a big ship moving in the direction of illusion for many, many lifetimes, and I don't expect I can turn that ship around. You turn it, hairpin turn.
You want quick results? Dabble with Maya. She'll give you quick results instantly. Like, what was I thinking? Why did I do that? This is a longer path. It's like being a farmer. You got to put in your time. You got to prepare the soil. You got to plant. You got to fertilize. You got to cultivate. You got to keep the birds away from eating your crops, and then you got to harvest it. So it's a bigger investment. It's not a quick fix. It's not a magic pill, but I do find, and I think it's safe to say, we wouldn't be here if we didn't get lured in it more and more by some mystic hand.
And you mentioned some experiences they had, like you called them glimpses, I think, and the 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 sages write about this, and they discuss, and they call this shadow attachment, where like you feel something special. I've had certain experiences that were very um, edifying. That really gave a lot of faith. I wish I could be there all the time, but we even see that's what happened in the beginning of the Bhagavatam. Narada tells his own story, right, where he says that he saw the form. He was a boy that his mother died when he was young, but before that happened, he had got some blessings from some great Bhakti Vedantas, from some great Bhakti yogis, and then his mother died, and he's just a boy, and he just wandered through the forest, and he had this vision of Lord Vishnu, and had it, and he had all those experiences, tears pouring from the eyes, and his hair standing on end, and then the vision disappeared. But I believe, isn't it even there that said, "I'm going to disappear, but I gave you this so that you'll always be searching for me. You'll always be remembering this," and so on. And so I do think that we may have some encouraging experiences like that. We shouldn't expect that we can just turn it back on. But we should hold that experience in our memory like a treasure, and with the conviction that that's the reality. That's what I need to keep my eye on that goal, and you'll get there.
Like that.
Should that experience be viewed more as Krishna's grace and not something like, well, I did it and I achieved it and I got it? No, it was like a gift.
Absolutely. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much.
Sweet Micah Prema.
Thank you, Micah
Nashville,
Prema.
Tennessee. Bo. That was good. Prema and Zoe.
Yeah, they're great. Okay. Maya.
Maya?
Here she comes. Here she comes.
We want more Maya in our life.
Speaking of Maya.
There's Maya. Hello, Maya. How are you?
Hi, Krishna. I'm great.
Just got the new. Bring your face up close to people who see that new, cool.
Yeah.
See, when I wear it, I just look like an old man in a hat. You're like young. People think it looks cool. See, young, cool people are wearing them too.
Yeah. So my question is kind of related to where we just left off. But coming to the end of such a sweet retreat with so many nice moments of sincerity and inspiration, my question is, how do we take those moments home with us? How do we keep that inspiration when we have those moments of that shadow attachment, I guess? How do we hold on to that so that we can continue to fuel it, so when we go back home, we're not going back into, I don't know, bad association or bad habits and things like that? I think it's easy in such inspiring association to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go home and chant really all my rounds sitting down all together, and then once you get home, you're like, oh, I have a lot of things to do. It's hard to prioritize the holy name.
You live in the Bhakti Center.
Yeah.
Sorry. So
Your whole life is a pilgrimage right now.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sure
sorry.
there's ways to get into Maya. This is why we do immersions. This is why we do pilgrimages, because all of your senses are absorbed at every moment. I remember the first time I went to Vrindavan. I was like, it's not just like you go there and there's a temple. Next to the temple, next to the Krishna Balaram temple, there's another temple. And then next to that temple, there's another temple. It's like temple after temple after temple after temple. And it's like you can't look around without getting reminded of Krishna. There's Krishna signs of Krishna. The guy's like business is called Krishna, this or that, or some name of Vishnu. And so it's like Krishna is everywhere. So even when you're looking at something mundane like a car or a license plate or a sign selling something, you're just reminded of Krishna. You can't get away from it. And then you look at a tree and you think of Krishna hugging a tree, and then you think of, and you're sort of absorbed in it. What to speak of, you go there with a strong intention, like I want to absorb myself in Krishna. Then you can have it so easily 24/7. We try to do that when we do these retreats. And we try to do this when we do our trainings. We try to do that because what happens is you don't even realize it, but you're getting so absorbed in Krishna. You know, when you do this also, and people might have had this phenomenon when you go to a Rath Yatra. If you go to a Rath Yatra, there's generally a parade. These are big festival of chariots. The parade goes down a main road in Los Angeles, goes down Venice Beach and Santa Monica Beach. And in New York's devotees, it almost feels like the devotees have taken over New York City. There's so many devotees in one place in the middle of the city. And then you get to this part, which in New York City is like the sacred circle of Washington Square Park. Now, Washington Square, we are back. I think I was adding valuable to the but anyway, Big Krishna cut
Washington
me
Square
off.
Park.
Washington Square Park. So if you were to go there and experience the kirtan, experience the prasad, experience the dancing, you might think, wow, New York City is such an incredible place. And I've had this phenomenon actually happen too. Like, what a nice festival in Venice Beach. You're thinking, yeah, it's so nice. It's sunny out. The beach is here. Everybody's having such a good time. Look at all these interesting people. But then all of a sudden, something magical happens. You walk outside of that circle, and all the gunas drop right on your head, and you're like, oh, this is sort of like messy and dirty, and this guy's selling drugs, and this
all the
guy's,
goons come out.
all the goons come out of the gunas. And you realize, actually, it was the holy name, it was the kirtan, it was the devotees, it was the prasad, it was the festival, it was the Bharatanatyam dancing, it was everything there that transported me to not even a good place. Because I've been to beautiful places. I've been to the rim of the Grand Canyon. I've hiked down the Grand Canyon. I've climbed tops of mountains. Those are incredible places. I'm talking about places not of this world. And that's what Bhakti takes you. It transports you just out of the realm of ghetto and awesome neighborhoods and takes you right to a spiritual realm. And so, how did I get talking about this? Point. Oh, so that's what we're getting. You're getting your senses immersed in it, and you feel like you're not of this world anymore. And it's not just a good New York City. You're not in New York City anymore. So when we do go on pilgrimage or go to Rath Yatra or go to, on a Wisdom and Sage retreat, that's the curator's design, is to take you right out of this world and have you experience such a sweet taste that when you go back into your regular world, you're like, where did it go? And then you're left, like Narada, or like Maharaj Parikshit, always, or like Narada.
Both of them,
Maharaj Parikshit and Narada, always searching, where is Krishna, where is Krishna? And you're trying to bring Krishna into your life in so many different ways that people do it. Some people go, I want to build an altar at my house. Some people come home from a retreat like this, come home from India. I bought deities. I want to make an altar. I want to make offerings. I want to offer my food with love and devotion. I want kirtan in my house on a regular basis. I'm not even good at kirtan, but I'll play on Spotify. I'll play kirtan. So, people will do, I want to listen to lectures on a regular basis while I'm cooking. Whatever it is, they try to figure out what they need to add and let go of the stuff they want to let go of. And that starts to transform. So we need these weekends. They're important. We need pilgrimages. There's 2 weeks of absorption, You need day retreats where you go to Rath Yatra for a day, you follow Rath Yatra. You need a regular check-in at a temple or an ashram. You need to have friends you can connect with, who you can share your heart with. What do you think?
I agree with you, Robin. I agree with every single thing you said. I think everything you said was incredibly valuable and not bogus at all.
Really?
Yeah.
It wasn't bogus. What? Thank you. Thank you. Back off.
Yes. Oh man. Okay. I would say this that last night Raghunath was chanting very beautifully. And he was chanting.
We're trying to call Vrindavan to our house.
And I was thinking that song, all it is it's different stimuluses for remembering Vrindavan. It's just mentioning all the different places, and then it's mentioning, oh, there's the gopis and the gopas, and then there's this.
I didn't chant the whole song, but yeah,
Yeah.
if you were to go through that whole Vrindavan Mahamrita, that they're all different places of Vrindavan,
Yeah.
people in Vrindavan, and it's
And Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote a song. It's called Radhakund Tata, which he just describes Radhakund. It's just like little snapshots of Radhakund, and then the last line of the song, he says, "I don't want to live anywhere in the world where all of these stimuluses for remembering Krishna don't exist." You know, he was like saying the peacocks and the this and the that. I don't want to be anywhere where there's not all these things that remind me of Krishna. But there's a way to take these little snapshots. When we would go to India, we'd have like Deen Bandhu would take us, this devotee who's he would take us to all the holy places in Vrindavan and tell us all the leelas, and he's practically the greatest storyteller that exists.
Yeah.
And he would tell Krishna's leelas in the most wonderful and creative and beautiful and memorable ways. And so he was like a guru of the Dham, someone that comes and takes you to the holy place, gives you these experiences, exposes you to them, and then the idea is that you hopefully hold on to that. And I remember in India, in these holy places, they say no photographs are allowed. And so a lot of times he would have to be the person, you know, like the whole group would come in and people would start taking some photographs, and then the local priest would be saying no photographs are allowed here, and he would have the microphone say no photographs are allowed. But then he would say, but the real photograph is you take the picture in your heart, right? You take the picture in your heart. And that's the thing, is like every little faith building experience that we have, we can choose to frame it just like you frame a picture on the wall. You know, that's what we do with things that we want to bring our awareness to, is we frame them in some way. Like, what is a temple? It's got like this altar where it's ornate, and then you have the center of your focus right there in the middle of it. And that's what a frame does, right? It says like, okay, here's the wall, here's what we want you to look at, and then we're going to build a frame around it so that your attention is drawn more firmly focused on it. And you can take all those experiences and you can frame them in your mind, or you can say you can frame them in your heart. And then you kind of keep them there as like your treasure. That you have to consciously do that. You have to consciously say, I had this experience. I will never forget this experience. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to revisit it. I'm going to go look at it again. Just like some people, they go to the museum to look at a painting, and then they go back. You know, I want to go back and I want to look at it again. So you have to, that's reflection. That's how reflection is part of yoga, you know, but for us, it's what are we reflecting on? I'm reflecting on Vrindavan. When you were singing the song, I was thinking, for those of us that have been to Vrindavan and had these experiences, when we hear that song, it transports us right back. It very powerfully. And for someone that has, I was thinking, some of these people haven't been there, it just isn't going to mean the same thing. Right?
Sure.
It's just not going to mean, because we all have that picture in our heart, and as soon as we hear the name, then it just lights up again. And so just make a conscious effort to, if there's something that you heard, something that you learned, something that you saw, something that you experienced, it, put a little frame around it and keep it in your heart as a little treasure, and revisit it, keep it alive. And especially when things become most challenging and your faith is most challenged, then you go back to that. You know, and you revisit it, and you feel refreshed again, or enlivened again, recharged again.
You seem enlivened.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maya.
That's it.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks, all the wisdom on the stages. Yes. Mary, give it a flip dip. With a saucy suit. Around. called it?
Lazy Susan.
Lazy Susan, not a saucy Susan.
Who is this Susan that you're talking about? The saucy one.
Thanks everybody for joining us. Woo! No show tomorrow.
Show tomorrow, back at 7.
Flying to Florida. Where are you doing tomorrow? Just taking the day off?
Well, it's kind of, yeah.
Kind of day off.
And
We don't,
I
we
don't
get
have
days
days
off. I'm going to a soccer game.
Okay.
I'm going to see Rodmouse one.
Oh, good. Good for you.
How about that?
So he's softened up a little bit. Mr. Grumpus over here.
Okay, everybody. It's a great day for a great day. Let the magic continue to flow in a Maha Haribo.